front of the microphones, please, gentlemen.
All right. So what we do first of all is the symbolic signing of our agreement, and then Simon will have a few words, and then I will have a few words.
Great. Well,
Minister?
sign this agreement again.
Yep, it's definitely in black and white.
Yeah, look, we
Can you
can
turn around?
Turn them around so you can see that.
Excellent. Included contract. Minister?
Right. If I can give those to someone to teach them place over there, is that all right? Sure. Hayden.
If I can just get you guys
Yeah,
both
sure.
in.
Yeah, sure.
So what have you agreed to there?
Well, look, if we perhaps just make a few remarks and then we'll open it right up. So today, obviously, His Worship and I have signed a heads of agreement in relation to the City Rail Link. Effectively, the most important part of that high-level agreement that is legally binding is in relation to a 50-50 share of this project. So we are equal partners in this project going forward. You'll recall that in January of this year, the Prime Minister made clear that we were getting involved as central government. And so from then, effectively, the Crown has been doing a huge amount of homework in relation to this project, our due diligence in relation to much more detailed design work, the costings and so on, the procurement, the construction and the operation. And that has given us the confidence to get to where we are today, a very important step in the process. I think obviously this project will be the biggest public transport infrastructure project New Zealand's ever seen. In fact, arguably it's the biggest, certainly one of the biggest transport projects of any kind that New Zealand's ever seen. Certainly I think probably the biggest agreement like this between central and local governments. So in that sense, it's a very significant day that we have here. The cost of this project in terms of a realistic estimated range, the Crown believes between $2.8 and $3.4 billion. Now obviously, as we've got into this, as we've done our due diligence and our homework, and we've gone through the more detailed design, the more detailed costing and the work, we have some confidence in those numbers. But of course they will, just as they have already, continue to refine as we get into this. The ultimate arbiter, of course, of price and these things are really prices, because we'll probably be procuring this, the Crown in Auckland, in several stages, is the marketplace. And we'll be working very hard to get a lot of competition and innovation into that. And obviously both the Mayor and I, Council and Central Government are completely committed to having the best value for money that we can for both the taxpayers and the ratepayers of New Zealand and Auckland. The reason why we're involved in this project from the Crown really hasn't changed. In fact, it's probably strengthened. And it is in relation to the very significant developments we're seeing in Auckland, the commercial development in the buildings area, the need to provide real certainty for the players doing that, but billions of dollars of work actually. And our belief from the experience we've seen around the world that the CRL will be a real spur to further development in the city. We also know that in terms of residential properties along the corridors of the CRL, there's significant opportunities there as well. And then of course, this is part of the government's commitment to make Auckland move and to really get Auckland moving. And we know that the CRL is going to double rail capacity in our city. We're going to go from something like 15,000 passengers at peak hour to 30,000. Every one of those is someone that won't be on the roads, that will be taking off the roads. There's that palpable congestion effect in a positive way from that. And of course the times that they'll be taking from the CRL will be much quicker. If we take out West Auckland, you're going from Henderson, about a 17-minute on average improvement per trip. So from that regard, in terms of development and certainty for business here in our biggest city, but also in terms of traffic and getting Auckland moving, this is very important indeed. And finally, can I just say, in terms of the future, under this heads of agreement. There's a lot of detail that still does have to be worked through, although there's good consensus, I think. Basically, that will come in a sponsors agreement, and the plan there is to sign that sponsors agreement next year, hopefully early next year, and when we do that, the Crown will be committing to progressively rolling out our payments on our half share of this project as building and work happens. So as I say, looks good to be here with us.
From the government's viewpoint, which we've been working towards for 4.5 years, this is Auckland's #1 transport project, and this is the project that will be hugely helpful in dealing with the congestion that Aucklanders feel, and have given me the mandate and our council the mandate to really deal with. And so the City Rail Tunnel is a critical part of that. It's great to now have the government in there as a 50% investor and funder in terms of the delivery of this project. We had the Prime Minister's commitment in June 2013, formalised at the beginning of this year, and now completed in writing. And so I want to say to the Prime Minister in particular that we hugely appreciate his commitment to our city, a recognition of the fact that this is not just a major transport project, but is a huge urban regeneration project, and it's clearly evident here today with the amount of business and building that's going on around Auckland, how important it is. But today is a fabulous day for Aucklanders, and the delivery of a dream that has been 100 years in the making. So Minister, thank you. Questions,
Minister,
comments?
Minister, can you explain the difference between the 2.5 billion that the council is still talking and the scale of your?
Look, I think inevitably in a project of this very significant scale, costs get defined, and ultimately what's happened here is government working with council in terms of more detailed design work, more detailed costing estimates, and really bringing the best experts to bear on this from both Auckland and central government has, as I say, inevitably meant refinement in the costs. I think what we've got now is a realistic estimated range, but I think what is also true is that we refine over time even more. And as I've already said, I think the ultimate arbiter here is going to be the marketplace. When we go out, we'll be seeking to be have very good competition, very good innovation, and very good value.
So
Mayor, what do you
2.5 is
make?
no longer the official price.
Well, we believe that, as I say, the realistic maybe range here is 2.8 to 3.4. But look, of course, I share the council's view, which is that we want to get the best value for money we possibly can here. I think this is the largest, one of the largest projects we've ever seen. You're always going to get movement and refinement on the costings. I expect that to continue. But I think where we are right now is realistic.
Right, so I think it's really important to, one, recognise that the business case that was included a year ago said 2.5 billion, and it would be plus or minus 20% as a contingency. We have by and large provided for that contingency in our budget, so we have 1.4 billion sitting in our budget. And so even if it's at the outer limits of that, around 3 billion, we by and large have that covered within our budget. And I think that's the first thing. The second thing is the Minister and I, our council and the government share the expectation that our officers will continue to work to drive costs down and out of this project, that this is an interim assessment. The finalised assessment will be next year, and we want to ensure that when the contract goes out for the entire City Rail Link project, that it's going out into a robust marketplace, and from that robust marketplace we will do everything we can to bring this project in on the lighter side rather than the higher side. So look, we recognise the Minister and the Prime Minister and the government have been advised latest estimates, but this is not the end of the process, and so remain confident that we'll be on the lighter end of the scale as a consequence of robust assessment of work rather than on the higher end. But certainly respect where the government's at.
Well, I think the other thing to say here is since January we've really been working hard. We've been doing our homework together, both government and local government, and that's going to continue. We expect as the Crown to be very active governors and managers of this project. We're setting this up to actively manage the commercial risks around procurement, cost, and the operations of this. And much of that detail will come through the sponsors agreement, but the Crown and local government aren't in effect spraying and walking away here. We will be active throughout this as we get right to the end of this in around 2023.
Mr. Mayor, does it worry you that the top estimate of $3.4 billion held by the Crown is 400 million higher than the council's top estimate?
What I'm aware of, and I mean I've been in this job now for 6 years, and we have done some very, very significant deals for investment in our city over that period of time, and I am aware of an active, strong market. For example, our best information was that Waterview came in 15% under what was estimated at that time. The basis that we have a robust marketplace, we have significant international interest. This is Auckland and New Zealand's largest transport project to date, and so we have significant international marketplace interest and wanted to bid for that. Out of that, we expect that type of assessment is a conservative assessment, and we would certainly be looking for an outcome between 2.5 and 3.
Are you aligning your estimates now though with the government's figures, or are you sticking to your own still?
Look, if you have a look at them, in the end we have said 2.5 billion, and this is a year ago, and of course that 2.5 billion has been in place for about 3.5, 4 years against the backdrop of a booming economy. That estimate was a plus or minus 20% in terms of a contingency. So we were looking at around 3 billion at the top end. But you know, what I've indicated here is taken into consideration the government's view. The final arbiter here will actually be the marketplace. These are the best assessments that we can have. We haven't finalised those best assessments, but in the end it will be what we can get out of the marketplace. We will go to the marketplace with as trimmed and assessed and massaged project as we could possibly get to ensure best price.
So at your top
At
end
what
though,
point did it move away from 2.5 plus or minus? How long ago did that?
Look, I think it's fair to say that that the workings that the government have received in their assessments have been really right up to date, right up to the last day or two, where you know, people have been looking for what is the best assessment at this time, giving all matters consideration, looking at latest designs, what is the latest work being done, for example, around the Mount Eden station. And so that work has been iterative, and it has been changing and reflecting changes in new assessments and new designs, really not only through the last few months, but the last few weeks and days. And it will continue to change.
who will own and manage City Rail Link?
I think there are issues that have to be worked through in what we're calling the sponsors agreement. I mean, effectively, to run through our thinking on these things at the moment, there's a heads of agreement. It is a legally binding document, but it is a high principle document, if you like. It sets out, very clearly the shared costings and some of the high principles in this. Underneath that, a lot of the detail will come in the sponsors agreement. We're working through things like the procurement in detail, the operations in detail, and the ownership. I think ultimately the Crown has a reasonably open mind on this. We just want to make sure that it's safe and it's effective and it's going to work for all things. I think just a bit more on the governance. The thinking at the moment is quite clear that government and local government will effectively, through a sponsors forum, have the pen, if you like, on governance. Under that, though, there will be this company called CRL Limited, and that's going to really be driving the delivery of this. But they will be reporting literally right up to the ministerial and the mayoral level, so that we are ensuring that in terms of all the things we've talked about here, cost, procurement, operations, and ultimately ownership, it goes well into achieving value for Auckland and New Zealand.
Are there any significant bits that may fall outside? Might you suddenly decide anything above the ground is the answer?
I think what is true is that effectively what we're signing up for today is the main CRL, by which I mean Britomart through to Mount Eden, really effectively, the underground and the stations there. And by anyone's estimation, is a very significant project. What is also true is there are surrounding parts of the network outside of the CBD that arguably will need improvements over time to ensure that the CRL delivers what we expect in terms of that doubling of capacity, those high times, those quick times for Aucklanders. Those costings and issues will go through the usual processes between local government and the Crown, but I expect we're going to see more investment in rail in and around Auckland than simply this CRL.
I think there's one issue here. The government is not only buying into the opportunity and the importance of the project, but it's also buying into the risk. And so, and buying, for example, the government is paying back its half share of the enablement work that's already been achieved. So there will be an arrangement over time where that difference will be dealt with by way of government payment. But in amongst that, of course, I indicated that this project has obvious great transport outcomes, but it has very significant urban regeneration outcomes, and the government will share in the benefit of the uplifted value, and if it is decided down the track, any other type of development or redevelopment around the main transport hubs. I mean, the Karingahape Road station is in effect 6 floors down. There is significant potential for development in and around that space before you even get to grade at grade level. So there are potential opportunities, but all of those will be dealt with through the CRL company, which will be owned equally between the government and council. So everything is shared 50-50.
If there are any critics that say this cost increase should justify cancelling the whole project, pulling out, what would you say to them?
I would say that what Auckland has got now is the main game-changing project that is critical for our city going forward and for dealing with the issue of gridlock and congestion.
Could this project be stopped?
No.
This is a project you campaigned on and probably was the signature of your 2010 campaign. How are you feeling personally today?
Absolutely delighted. I'm so proud for Aucklanders, and this was the one that W.I. Robinson strove 18 years to deliver. This is the one that Prime Minister Coates suggested over nearly 100 years ago. It's the one that will most importantly impact on the well-being and the lives of Aucklanders and helping them to get around the city. And I'd like to be opening it tomorrow.
Has Auckland Council found the money to pay for its half, even if it is at that top end, even if it's $3.4 billion?
The money is the money.
Accounted for?
No, what we have within our budget is our ability to deal with a final cost that might be in and around the $3 billion mark. So as I said, 2.5 billion plus or minus 20% contingency. So we presently have sitting in our LTP an ability to fund $1.44 billion worth of projects. So nearly 2.9 billion. And so our expectation, and this is what the Minister has highlighted, we are now in this absolutely together, and we'll be looking to drive costs out of this project, get the very best deal to ensure we're in and around that $2.5 to $3 billion mark that we have been really working towards, and it would be certainly to our mutual benefit to achieve.
Yes, but if it hits that 3.4, which is the top estimate that the government's talking about, can Auckland pay for it?
I think that it's critical that we not try and jump over hurdles before we arrive at them. We are now going to go through a significant process of finalising our arrangements, finalising design, working on what we will actually go to market with, and so the new Mayor and the Minister of Transport at that time will, in a year's time, be able to give very clear statements in terms of what the price will be, because they would have been to the market and they would have gone to the market with a completed city rail link model.
So what you're saying is if it does cost $3.4 billion, you'll cross that bridge when it comes.
Absolutely, and look, what we've agreed to here today is that the government and the council will deliver this project 50-50. And that's just not about money. That is absolutely about the Minister, the Mayor, the councillors and the Cabinet, the Prime Minister working cohesively to deliver the most significant transport project ever in the history of the nation.
So Minister, is there one singular cost which has increased to cause these estimates to rise, or is it shared across the sort of project?
I think broadly saying it's shared. I think effectively what you've got here is a refinement which is going to happen on really big projects like this, where you start getting more detailed design work and you start getting more detailed costings and data about what it means. The refinement's going to continue. I think the other point I'd make, of course, is this isn't simply about money. I think the point the Mayor has been making. Right now, what we have going forward is both council and the government actively managing this, to manage the risks and to do all we can to make this a successful project.
Another sign of that cooperation between council and government is the Auckland Transport Alignment Project. You've just come from a council.
Which we will talk to you tomorrow.
You've just come from a council meeting.
Which is a very good way to conclude this discussion at this point, because we will take that matter up tomorrow. But yeah, it is an exciting time for Aucklanders and a very good time for the relationship between the government and our council. So let's conclude the stand up now, and you can do one-on-ones.
Thank you.
Okay, so just guidance, people.